the church Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV. Welcome back, everyone, for more SPTV coverage of the Danny Masterson trial. We have some news. 2.5 hours ago at 11 a.m. California time, the jury hit that bell 2 times, which means we have a question, we have something we want to say, we need some feedback from the judge. Now, we know it is something of significance because the last 2 times this occurred, it was something that the judge was able to handle just by contacting the prosecution, contacting the defense, getting a question answered, and just giving the jury the information that they wanted. There's been 2 times where the jury has rang that bell and everyone was not required to come back into the courtroom. And in this case, the judge actually gave the jury a 2.5-hour break and is giving both sides the opportunity to come into the courtroom. They actually should have been back in the courtroom 7 minutes ago. Depending on what happens, we're not going to know what's going on for another hour and a half. Now, one possibility would be a question such as this: what should we do? What if we're already unanimous on 2 of the charges, but we're hung on the 3rd charge? Now you might go, well, that's a question the judge could have just answered to them. She could have just given them the answer. But what I'm being told in itself is potentially so prejudicial if it were a question like that. Both sides would be required to come in and hear the question because it is essentially sort of tantamount to foreshadowing a verdict. I have no particular reason to believe that that is what is going on. But it's not just as simple as we would like a read back. Because, for example, one of the other times the bell was rung twice. Here's what I mean. It was already announced in advance what it was the jury was requesting, and then everyone was given the amount of time needed to come back into the courtroom so that what they were requesting could occur. So they're not asking for a read back. They're not asking for a playback. They're not just asking to see if they're able to see a different piece of evidence or something like this. Because, for example, one of the requests they had before was during the trial, when Jane Doe 3 was testifying, she was shown a bunch of Instagram messages between her and former Scientologist, ex-wife of Giovanni Ribisi, Mariah O'Brien. And Jane Doe 3 was shown those Instagram messages and it was admitted into evidence. Mariah O'Brien was shown those messages. It was admitted into evidence. We're back here in the jury room going through all the evidence. We don't see those messages. Can we have them? And the judge informed them, we actually ruled that those messages were not admissible into evidence for other reasons. It contained a whole bunch of information that was too off into the weeds. So that's why we know this 2 bell ring is significant. This is, let me pull up my little spreadsheet here, make sure I'm not overstating it. I believe today is actually day 8 of deliberations. The last trial went on for 3-day deliberations. The last deliberation went on for 3 days. Now, it hasn't been 8 full days. It's just been 8 different days where deliberations occurred. There's another update in this case. Remember, today was supposed to be the day that the evidentiary hearing began to find out how Scientology's attorney and professional bridge dweller, Vicky Podboreski, wound up in possession of a very meaningful amount of the discovery file that the DA turned over to the defense team in this case. Vicky Podboreski has nothing to do with this case. Vicky Podboreski is representing Scientologists in the civil case that some of the Jane Does in this case have brought against Danny Masterson and David Miscavige and Scientology. The judge had specifically ordered the defense team in this current trial not to share discovery with any third parties. And yet Vicky Podboreski ended up in possession of this. The judge had ordered an evidentiary hearing to discover which member of the defense team leaked this information to Scientology. That was supposed to happen today. Now, let me show you. James Quealy over at the LA Times was really, succeeded in really sort of getting the scoop on this. He tweeted this last night. Jury deliberations in the Danny Masterson trial will resume tomorrow, but I'm being told the evidentiary hearing about a Scientology attorney receiving discovery in the case will be postponed. No explanation given, but I'd presume the hearing well, I'd presume the hearing was meant to take place post verdict. Well, it turns out James was 100% correct. And I'm surprised. Maybe this was just a matter of a formality. I'm surprised because even though James knew that last night, all of the attorneys who were ordered to appear in court this morning did in fact appear. Thomas Mesereau showed up with his own attorney. Sharon Applebaum showed up with her own attorney. And pretty much right off the bat, the judge just said, look, we all had a meeting about this yesterday. It seems prudent to continue this hearing. In other words, to postpone this hearing while deliberations in this trial are still ongoing. So they rescheduled it for 7 more days. They just kicked it a little bit down the road, not too much longer to wait. And I am so on pins and needles waiting to hear what it is the jury has to say. I mean, even if they say, I don't even want to speculate too much. I don't want to speculate too much. All right, let me look at the comments real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. And then as soon, when's the next break? So right now it's 1:40 California time. Court gets out at 4, and they usually have an afternoon break sometime around 3. So we're not really going to know anything for like 90 minutes unless someone runs out of the courtroom and sends a tweet, which is actually possible. That's possible. I'm hoping that happens because nobody wants to wait 90 minutes. Let me see here. Oh, Rusty with the super sticker. Thank you, Rusty. I'm looking for some actual comments here real quick. Hold on. So Bill Kennedy, I'm afraid it's going to be a hung jury. Well, I believe most people at this point are afraid that it's going to be a hung jury. Graham O'Keefe says, fingers crossed for good news. And I guess it's more entertaining for me to just be optimistic. It also, what I've said in the past, just the last week or so, is that the fact that at no point was the jury asking for help or saying they were having trouble or saying they were stuck, to me tended to indicate that the members of the jury, whatever was going on back there, whatever was going on was at least in line with what the jurors all expected should be going on. And to me, that means some type of progress in some direction. And the fact that they continued to ask questions specifically about Jane Doe 3 definitely gave rise to speculation, definitely on my part, that it seemed like perhaps they were already resolved on Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2. And that's why I'm hoping that that's the question they're going to ask is, Your Honor, we've been working on this, we've been making progress, but at this point, we've sort of hit a little bit of a wall here. What should we do here if we're already good on 1 and 2, resolved one way or the other, and we're not going to be able to become unanimous on Jane Doe 3? That would be amazing, guys, right? So anyhow, we just don't know. We just won't know. We will know soon. And as soon as we know, I'll go live. So hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It all helps. And yeah, I hope to talk to you guys very, very soon. And I hope to have some good news. Thanks to everyone who watches. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe.